Okay, grade 11s. I just wanted to chat with you guys a little bit more about the input masks, okay? Sorry, my voice is very crusty. My voice is so going, I'm talking too much. Anyway, so let's have a look at the input masks real quickly. What is it that you really need to do when it comes to input masks? So when you apply the input mask, you are telling or forcing the user to type in exactly what you want them to type in. So, do you want to type them a digit between 0 and 9, or enter a digit between 0 and 9? So, did you see the difference between must and may? So, if the user must enter a digit between 0 and 9, they would use a 0. If the user may use a digit between 0 and 9, you enter the letter or the number 9. You add a space with the letter hashtag, with the hashtag, sorry, and then an L for a compulsory letter, and then a question mark for any other letter that they may use. Now, when it comes to this L and this question mark, or even the A must enter a letter or a digit. I want to show you how you would apply that. So in the exam, if I ask you that the field property, for example, must be a capital letter and additional letters, okay, and any other additional letters. So say this is your sheet, this is your field, sorry, your table, and we're going to enter the field. Let's say, okay, let's go to design view and we enter, let's see, let's choose first name, for example. Now, first name, I don't have any mark, input mask there, and I don't have any validation rule. That's fine. But if I ask you to enter the validation rule or a specific input mask, so if I tell you the field properties for the first name field, for example, need to be that they need to enter one capital letter and optional letters. Now, how do I know how many optional letters? So the input mask I'm going to add here, I'm going to say it must be a capital letter. Sorry, I don't know why this is not giving me the option to edit. Okay, let me just do this quickly. Okay, let's go to design view. I'm just going to name it table 1 so that I can make changes. Okay, so the input mask, let's say for surname, for example, I want it to be one capital letter. So I'm forcing the user to type in a capital letter. Okay. Now I want to force the user to add only a certain amount of optional letters here. So now the optional letters, as we know, is a question mark. May enter a letter. Okay. So let's see how many letters is the maximum capacity that I want them to be able to add. Let me just quickly save that. Let's go to the datasheet view. We are currently in surname. Sorry. So let's see what the most letters is there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 10 letters. That's the maximum capacity that I want them to reach. So they may not enter more than 10 letters. So then I'm going to adjust that input mask with optional letters, or that they may enter not greater than 10. Okay, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now they will not be able to enter anything other than a capital letter first and 10 other letters after the capital letter. Okay, so that's what happens when it comes to the input mask. Now, let's talk about validation rule. Let me quickly just save that. Now let's talk about the validation rule. Let's go here to grade 10. Now you see over there, I said that's the description of it, right? Now, if I want the user to use only digits between 10, 11, or 12, right? Okay, that's a bad example. Let me find a better example. What the validation rule is going to say, what the validation rule wants us to do is when we have a certain requirement. So, if for example, I want to add, if, yeah, values between 10 and 12. So here they can only type in values between 10 and 12. So I'm going to say the validation rule would be between 10 and 12. So that is the only numbers that I want them to type in this particular field. If I ask you to provide a validation text, you could say anything about the validation rule, okay? Anything appropriate, of course. So you can say only enter values between 1 and 10 or whatever the case may be, okay? Between 10, sorry, and 12. So the validation rule is that the user only enters values between 10 and 12, and the validation text, that is what would pop up for them, would be that only values between 10 and 12. So if they wanted to type in 9, for example, this validation text will then pop up. Let's see if that works. Let's go to the datasheet view. That was, so if for example I want to type in the number 9 and I click enter, do you see there that error comes up that says only values between 10 and 12? So okay, so now I'm going to make it 10, and that, and so that works. If I want to type in, let's say 13, click enter. Again, only values between 10 and 12, the error message or the validation message that comes up. So now the user knows that they only need to type in values between 10 and 12. Let me just go back here and see where, I can't remember where I added that input mask now. Was it the grade? Was it the surname? Yeah. So here's 10 additional letters with a capital letter. I just want to show you what would happen if I were to type in anything else. Was that the surname? Yes. So let's say Adams. Do you see there those extra spaces over there? That is what they can still type in. Okay. If we go to insert Betty, there's only one extra space there. See that? That is the amount of spaces available for the user to type in. I cannot go further than that. Let's say if I type in AA, it's not allowing me to type in any more A's because I only added, because I advised that the input mask needs to be 10 letters maximum only. Okay, so the user will then be forced to only type in 10 letters here. Okay, so I hope that gives you a broader idea of how you are going to use these input masks. If I ask you something specific, like they must enter a letter or a digit, you can even add decimal spaces, uppercase, lowercase, and so forth. Okay, so if you have any questions on that, I'm happy to answer you guys. But as for Microsoft Access, you now know everything that you need to know.